left off on part 21 with Trent Bolte's interview. And if you hear the little squeaking in the background or the occasional tic-tac on the floor or jump down, well, that would be one of my chihuahuas jumping down out of my lap. Or if you hear the squealing, screeching sound behind me, that's going to be my little guinea pig. So, yeah, I have a little guinea pig. And the way I ended up with him is my granddaughter just had to have one. And then, after so long, well, she just got tired of him. The truth and the fact of the matter is she just kind of got tired of taking care of his cage. So, guess who ended up with him? It's okay, though. He's a doll. He's a cutie, and he's my buddy. His name's Ryder. He's really cute. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, we'll get right into part 22. We're going to be hitting the text messages with Nichol Kessinger. And these text messages occurred from August the 16th all the way until September the 5th. And the synopsis reads, on August the 16th, 2018, CPI agent Kevin Kovac was assigned to interview Nichol Kessinger regarding this case. From August the 16th, 2018, my communication with Kessinger, with the exception of recorded interviews, was completed by text messages. The attached screenshots represents all text messages between Kessinger and I from August the 16th until September the 4th. On September the 4th, Kessinger met me at the Frederick Police Department, Detective Baumover, at the CBI Lakewood office. Detective Baumover has taken over responsibility for communication and information gathering from Kessinger. Synopsis only. No further narrative is associated with this report. Refer to the attached screenshots of text messages for further. So, as you see here, on September the 4th, Detective Baumover took over all contact with NK, and that we do not have any sort of records of any sort of files of anything her and Detective Baumover discussed between each other. We do not have access to that. So whatever was said or done between her and Detective Baumover, we have no idea. So witness number 1, Nichol Kessinger, alias Nikki. And then, okay, I'm going to break in right here really fast. The text messages between Nichol and Kovac were not saw, as you will see in this reading, but I do have that video made of it, and I will also link it at the end of this one so you can actually see those text messages. I made that video a while back. Go on down to a new supplemental report dated on September the 4th. This was the interview with Anthony Brown. He is a co-worker of Chris at Anadarko. I do have his recorded audio on the channel, and I will link it at the end of this video because if you haven't heard it, it's very emotional, and he really pours his heart into his interview. I'm not sure. I can't remember what the report says. There's a lot of this I can't remember, and I'll probably remember it as we get into it, as I usually do. But, I mean, just right now, off the top of my head, I don't remember. But I can tell you the audio, it's very emotional. So, this interview with Anthony Brown was done on September the 30th. Greg Zinger, whom I will call Greg Z, interview with Anthony Brown. Brown was a co-worker at Anadarko with Chris Watts, and of course it gives Anadarko's address. Anthony was 31 years old at the time of this report. Going on down, the synopsis reads, on Thursday, August the 30th, 2018, ICB field agent Greg Z interviewed Anthony Brown in connection to the Watts homicide case. Brown was identified as a co-worker of Chris Watts at Anadarko. Action taken. On Thursday, August the 30th, 2018, I interviewed Anthony Brown at the Anadarko offices located in Platteville, Colorado. Brown worked with Chris Watts in the oil fields for Anadarko. The interview was recorded. The following is a summary of the interview, and for a complete account, please review the attached audio file. Brown said he first met Chris when he was hired by Anadarko in August of 2016. Brown said Watts was assigned to train on how to check the oil well sites on his route. He said after Watts trained him, he didn't have much contact with Watts. He said that was mainly a function of his job duties because his job requires him to work alone most of the time. He said Watts started talking to him about 6 months after Brown was hired. Brown said this was mainly because of the house explosion in Firestone in 2017. Brown said after the explosion, Anadarko started having more team meetings, and that was when Brown said he and Chris started to become friends. He said they mainly spoke about fantasy sports, but after a while, Chris started talking about his 2 daughters. He said Chris mentioned that both of his daughters had some medical issues, but he didn't know exactly what the medical issues were. Also said Watts spoke about Thrive and a little bit about Shanann Watts, his wife. He said he never met Shanann, and he said Watts never spoke to him about any marital issues he was having. He said that Chris mentioned that Shanann was gone on a business trip about every other month for her Thrive business. Brown described Chris as very quiet and as the go-to guy at work, and said Watts was always calm, cool, and collected. Brown said, I haven't seen 1 ounce of violence in that guy, talking about Chris. Brown said he was also friends with Chris on Facebook, and he said there were usually 5 to 6 posts a day on Chris's Facebook feed. Brown said these posts appeared to come from Shanann updating her Facebook account. He said he never hung out with the Wattses outside of work. Brown said he and some of the other workers at Anadarko invited Chris to come and play poker with them every other weekend. He said Chris never took them up on the offer, and they stopped asking him to come after Chris turned them down several times. Brown said Chris went to North Carolina during the first week of August. He said he thought Watts came back from his trip on August the 7th. Brown said the last time he saw Watts was on Wednesday, August the 8th. Brown thought Watts took off work on August the 9th and August the 10th, 2018, to take Shanann to the airport and to watch his children. He said he knew Chris was at work on Monday, August the 13th, but he never saw him. He said he was going to go out to Survey 319 and check a leak in the dump line, but he knew there was already 5 people from his team at that site on Monday morning. He said he knew that Chris, Watts, Troy McCoy, Cody Roberts, Melissa, which he did not know her last name, Chad McNeil, were at Survey 319, so he did not go. Melissa's last name is actually Parrish. We read about her earlier in the discovery in one of the earlier parts. Brown said on Monday, August the 13th, he arrived at the Anadarko office in Platteville at about 6:10 a.m. Brown said he went to the break room and then went to Luke Eppel's office. Brown said at some point he overheard part of a conversation that Chad McNeil was having with someone on the phone. Brown said he later learned that McNeil was speaking to Chris. Brown said he heard McNeil talking to Chris about Chris going directly to the field first thing in the morning instead of coming to the office. Brown said he thought that was very unusual because Chris always came to the office first before going out into the field. He said he could not ever remember a time when Chris went straight to the field and didn't come to the office first thing in the morning. Brown said the first he heard anything happening to Chris's family was on Tuesday, August the 14th. He said he saw on the group email at work that Chris was not coming to work today. He said he initially didn't think anything about it. He said he and McCoy went to a location to turn on the well when McCoy said something to him about Chris's family had gone missing. Brown thought this was at about 8 a.m., and they were at the Lauren Arnold 28 and 4 location. Brown said McCoy told him that Watts was getting ready to do an interview on television about his family missing. Brown said he immediately reactivated his Facebook account. Brown had previously deactivated his account because it was a waste of his time, and started posting the stories he could find about the Watts family, and after everyone he knew to be on the lookout for them. Brown said he and McCoy talked about the situation, and McCoy told Brown that Chris had been having issues with Shanann, and Chris had been sleeping on the couch recently. Brown said he was not aware of any issues Chris was having in his marriage. Brown said McCoy told him that Watts said Shanann had taken off her wedding ring and left it on the counter before she disappeared. Brown said he and McCoy speculated that Shanann had left Chris and she took the two girls with her. Brown said they even speculated that Shanann had met someone while she was on one of her business trips for Thrive. Brown said McCoy also told him Watts said Shanann didn't take any clothing or any medicine for the girls. Brown said he did not have any contact with Watts on Tuesday, August the 14th. Brown said Watts made a comment to him about 2 months ago, which Brown thought was unusual. Brown said he and Watts were at a location called Arrowhead Farms, and they were in the process of getting the site ready to start pumping oil again. Brown said Watts had told him that he and Shanann were expecting a baby. Brown said he told Chris congratulations, and Chris said in return, "Do you want one?" Brown said Watts made this comment with no emotion, and Watts didn't appear to be very excited about having another baby. Brown said he thought would bring him their baby. Brown said he thought Watts was kidding, but he said after the recent incidents surrounding Chris, he wondered if Chris was being serious about giving away his baby. Brown said now that he has had a chance to think about the situation, he thinks Chris may have been dating a girl in the Anadarko office. He said he thought Chris was dating a girl named Nikki. He said he saw Chris and Nikki standing near the break room talking together. Brown said he thought Chris and Nikki were standing extremely close, and Brown thought this was unusual. Brown thought that happened about 5 months ago. That would have been around May. Not long after that, Nikki actually started working at Anadarko. So, yeah. And that would have actually been around the time that Shanann actually got pregnant. And then it says nothing further. Greg Z. Attachments, audio file with interview of Anthony Brown. And I will link that interview at the end of this video. And let me tell you, there is a lot more in that than was in this report. I can assure you of that. Going on down, we're going to have another supplement report. And the description is going to be a CBI Facebook tip, possible teeth marks on Chris Watts' neck. And the Facebook tip, September the 5th. And the synopsis reads, on Wednesday, September the 5th, the CBI Facebook page received a message from Rebecca Alex. Alex indicated She had also notified the Frederick Police Department regarding potential teeth marks on Chris Watts' neck. Alex provided what appeared to be still images of Chris taken from his interview on the local news and still images of his daughter Celeste's teeth. The images and messages from Alex are attached to this supplement. It should be noted, images of Chris's neck were taken the evening of August the 15th following his arrest, and the images were maintained by the Frederick Police Department. And then witness number 2 would be the Rebecca Alex. Going on down. Keep in mind, these are not in order, so they could be on into the discovery, but they weren't on the very next page, as you see. What is on the very next page is a phone interview with Colleen Bolte, Trent Bolte's mother. I've already uploaded this interview, and a lot of you has already heard it, but again, just in case you haven't, I will also link it at the end of this video. And a lot of you were interested in seeing Trent's actual interview with CBI, because I do have that on video, not just audio, video. And a lot of you were interested in seeing that. I've never uploaded it because, as I said before, I never put much stock into Trent. But some people do. And that's okay, that's their opinion. So, I will get that uploaded as well for the ones of you that do want to see it. And the synopsis says, on Wednesday, September the 5th, I conducted a phone interview with Trent Bolte's mother, Colleen Bolte. I hope I'm not pronouncing her name wrong, because I knew a few people with this name, and some of them call it Colleen, and some of them just Colleen, so I don't want to pronounce it wrong, but I'm going to call her Miss Bolte because that's more respectful. This report documents the information learned from Miss Bolte. Action taken. On Wednesday, September the 5th, I called and spoke with Trent's mother, Miss Bolte. Miss Bolte stated she had received so many weird phone calls that she wanted to verify my identity. Miss Bolte agreed to call the CBI's main number so she could speak with me. A short time later, Miss Bolte called and we spoke about Trent. During the phone interview, Miss Bolte told me the following. She knew Trent was involved in the Chris Watts thing. Trent talked to her, but her and her husband Dave are extremely private people. Obviously, Trent didn't follow suit. She recalled Trent took care of their house in Glen Rock, Wyoming, estimated to be February, March, and April of 2018, when she and Dave were in Arizona. Trent had a stalker at the time who sent him some very ugly texts. She called Trent to see how he was doing, and Trent told her he had a friend named Chris staying with him for the weekend. Trent told her Chris was from Colorado. Trent never told her Chris's last name. With regard to what she knew about Damian Ferns, Damian was Trent's on and off again boyfriend for a long time. She does not know Damian's last name. Trent is gay and has always been very secretive about his boyfriends. She met Damian on one occasion approximately 3 to 4 years ago. Trent introduced Damian to her as his friend. Damian came to her residence with a group of Trent's friends. Trent told her Damian came over for Thanksgiving 2017, but she never saw him. She invited Damian to Thanksgiving. Damian worked in the oil field and came over and ate Thanksgiving dinner later that evening. Trent had been dishonest in the past, but she cannot recall a time when Trent was dishonest about a relationship. She has never had a reason to not believe Trent about his relationships. Trent never spoke about Chris Watts, and she is not sure why, but she believes Trent is being truthful about his relationship with Chris Watts. With regard to if she knew anything about a cell phone given to Damian by Trent, She is not sure what to think since Damian denied a relationship with Trent. I feel really sad for Miss Bolte. She just seems to be so confused, you know. She seems like such a good mother. At the same time, she just really doesn't know what to think about her son. That's just what I pick up on her. And she tries to answer these questions that they're asking her to the best of her ability, I think. But she don't know how to answer them, really. She doesn't want to, make her son look bad, of course. At the same time, she's just confused. That's my opinion. She believed Trent was on Damian's cell phone plan, and Damian paid for Trent's cell phone. Trent and Damian had a weird relationship. Trent talked about Damian constantly for 2 years. Trent and Damian seemed to spend a lot of time together. Most of the information she knows about Damian came from Trent. She asked Trent to invite Damian over for the holidays, but Damian never came. And she felt really bad for anyone who had to be alone on the holidays. Trent told her that Damian's father disowned him after he found out Damian was gay. Trent told her Damian beat him up a couple of times, and the police responded on at least one occasion. Trent told her Damian would frequently fly into rages and was hot-tempered. With regard to Trent possibly being a prior victim, Trent was raped a long time ago. She didn't find out about the rape until recently, estimated to be probably 1 or 2 years ago. The person who raped Trent was named Robert, and he was Hispanic. Trent had to testify in court. She offered to go with Trent to court to support him, but Trent told her she couldn't because juveniles were involved and it was a closed court case. Trent lived a secretive life. She was not aware Trent was ever married in the past. And with regard to if she felt like Trent was making up some of his information, she said, quote, "Well, God help him if he is," unquote. Trent admitted he was seeing Chris Watts long before the horrible crime occurred. Within the last few weeks, Trent told her that Dave and Chris gave him money. Miss Bolte later indicated she believed Trent actually told her and Dave about receiving money for Chris after he was interviewed by the police. Trent told her Chris paid him $250, $80, and $60 on separate occasions. Trent did not indicate any payment from Chris was related to prostitution. Trent told him Chris was a really nice guy, and he never would have dreamed such a thing would have happened. Trent lives a very secretive life, even though Miss Bolte is very accepting of his lifestyle. Trent has never talked about making money through prostitution. And with regard to if Trent ever gave Damian a cell phone, Trent has the newest iPhone. She does not know what Trent did with his old cell phone. She believes Trent sent his old cell phone back to his cell phone carrier Verizon. She believed Trent lived with Damian for the past few years. She never visited Trent when he lived with Damian. Approximately 3 weeks to a month ago, she heard Trent yelling in the house for someone to leave. Next, she heard Trent say, "I don't care, you can just walk." She didn't get up to see who Trent was talking to. The next morning, she asked Trent what happened. Trent told her Damian was over and he yelled at him to leave. They live in the country and their roads are very bad. Trent told her Damian parked his newer Dodge Charger far away from their residence due to the condition of the roads. She has never seen Damian's vehicle. With regard to what types of things Trent had been dishonest about in the past, Trent never told her about Chris giving him money until after Trent talked to the police. In her opinion, withholding information is the same thing as being dishonest. She recently got a friend's request from a producer at NBC. The producer said she saw Miss Bolte was Trent's sister and asked for her to have Trent call them. The producer told her that her conversation with Trent could be quote unquote off of the record. She told the producer she was actually Trent's mother and was an extremely private person. She asked the producer to respect her privacy and to not contact her again. She is afraid that her involvement in the case hurt her or her family. She is aware things can get leaked. Last week, the public defender's office came to their residence in Wyoming. She did not answer the door because she thought they were Jehovah's Witnesses. She received a phone call from her neighbor a short time later who told her 2 attorneys were there looking for Trent. Dave told her they should talk to the attorneys before they go all over town asking questions about him. They talked to the attorneys but did not give them any information. The attorneys asked for Trent's phone number, but they did not give it to them. Dave is sick and had a prior liver transplant. People showing up at her door has been very stressful. She is afraid our conversation may be leaked. Makes me feel really bad to even be sitting here reading this when this lady was so worried about even having to be a part of this, and she's very private, and it really makes me feel bad. So, but I don't think anybody's bothered these people since. I truly hope not, because they don't deserve it. I mean, these families does not deserve any heat, because none of this is their fault. She is afraid our conversation may be leaked. The attorneys that showed up at their door called Trent repeatedly, but he has not talked to them. She gave Trent the name and phone number for a personal attorney. Trent called the attorney, who told them he didn't have to talk to the attorney from the public defender's office. The attorney told Trent he could pay him to be his attorney, but assured Trent he did not need an attorney. The attorney told Trent that he ended his relationship with Chris long before the crime occurred. The attorney told Chris to not waste his money. She will try to talk to Trent to get to the bottom of this information. The only reason she believed Trent was telling the truth was because he mentioned a person named Chris who visited him from Colorado. At the end of the phone interview, I thanked Miss Bolte for speaking with me and told her I would call and speak with her the next morning. Nothing further. Phone interview with Colleen Bolte. Okay, moving on down. This is going to be the phone interview with Kellie Burke, and she is a friend of Shanann Watts. And I do have her interview as well, and we'll link it as well at the end of this video. This phone interview was done on September the 5th. Synopsis. On Wednesday, September the 5th, ICBI field agent Greg Z. interviewed Kellie Burke on the phone in connection to the Watts homicide case. Burke was a lifelong friend of Shanann Watts. On Wednesday, September the 5th, 2018, I contacted Kellie Burke and conducted an interview with her over the telephone. Burke lives in New Jersey. This interview was recorded. The following is a summary of the interview, and for a complete account, please refer to the attached audio file. Burke says she has known Shanann since they were children. Burke said they lived in the same neighborhood when they were growing up. Burke said she lost contact with Shanann for a while, but they were able to reconnect via Facebook about 10 years ago. Burke said she has been out to Colorado on a couple of occasions to visit Shanann. She said the last time she was in Colorado was in 2014. She said the last time she saw Shanann was the last part of April of 2018, when she met Shanann in New Orleans for a Thrive conference. Burke said they were together for about 5 days at this conference. Burke said she and Shanann stayed in the same hotel room for their stay. Burke said Shanann never said anything to her about having any relationship issues with Chris. She said she never saw anything that led her to believe Shanann and Chris were having troubles in their marriage. She said she overheard several conversations Shanann had with Chris on the phone, and she said the conversations appeared to be normal and not terrible. Burke said the last time she had any contact with Shanann was about a week before Shanann and the girls were reported missing. It was around August the 5th. She said Shanann was telling her that she was ready to go back to Colorado from North Carolina. She said Shanann was also texting her about how excited she was to go to Arizona for the most recent Thrive conference coming up the weekend of August the 11th through the 12th. She said on Monday, August the 13th, at about 6 p.m., she saw a Facebook posting from Shanann's brother Frankie about Shanann, Bella, and Celeste were missing. Burke said she called Shanann's mother and learned Shanann and the girls were reported missing, and the police had Shanann's cell phone. Burke also said Shanann's mother told her that Chris hadn't been himself while he was in North Carolina, and Chris was standoffish during his visit to North Carolina during the first week of August. Burke said Shanann's mother also commented about Chris backing his pickup into the driveway early in the morning on Monday, August the 13th. And Burke said this was unusual and concerning to Shanann's mother. Burke said she started texting Shanann's husband after she spoke to Shanann's mother, and she said she was texting Chris to find out what was going on. She had several text message exchanges with Chris on Monday night and Tuesday during the day. She provided screenshots of the text messages she had with Chris. Please see the attached screenshots of the text messages between Burke and Chris. Nothing further, 9 screenshots of text messages between Burke and Chris Watts about Shanann and the girls missing. Audio file of interview with Burke and screenshot from Facebook of Kellie Burke and Shanann Watts on May the 1st. Okay, going on down, this is going to be another supplement report, and this is dated September the 6th, and it says Damian Ferns, CH Review. Synopsis. On 8:30, Agent G spoke with Damian Ferns by phone for information provided by Trent Bolte. Ferns denied any relationship with Bolte. Bolte provided that he was victim of a domestic abuse by Ferns. Agent G reviewed records from LEAs in an effort to corroborate the information provided by Bolte. Gillette, Wyoming Police Department had contact for Byrne, but not Bolte. Campbell County had contacts for Byrne, but not Bolte. Cheyenne, Wyoming had contact for Byrne, but not Bolte. These agency records could not corroborate information provided by Bolte to suggest that he had a bad relationship with Ferns. The domestic abuse-related charges involved a woman named Emily Piper. And this just continues the report. And going on down, another supplement report dated August the 6th. And the description is Chris Watts CPR records. And the synopsis is during the investigation into Shanann, Bella, and Celeste Watts murders, Chris Watts had stated during his interview that he did not perform any life-saving measures on his daughters because he had never been taught CPR as it pertained to children. This report documents follow-up conducted related to Chris's prior CPR training through his employer, Anadarko Petroleum. Witness number 1, Raymond G. Witness 2, Tony Husky. And, of course, subject Chris Watts. And the synopsis reads, during the investigation into Shanann Bella and Celeste Watts' murders, Chris Watts had stated during his interview that he did not perform any life-saving measures on his dog because he had never been taught CPR as it pertained to children. The report documents follow-up conducted related to Chris's prior CPR training through his employer, Anadarko. On Wednesday, August the 15th, Chris was interviewed regarding the disappearance of his pregnant wife and his 2 young daughters. Chris later admitted during his interview that he observed his wife actively strangling her 3-year-old daughter, Celeste. Chris stated he observed Celeste was already blue and limp. He did not perform CPR on or any other life-saving measures, to including not calling 911. Chris went on to state he did not perform CPR on Celeste because he only had adult CPR training, which used adult mannequins, and he wouldn't even know how much pressure to use on a child. On Thursday, August the 16th, I contacted Anadarko Regional Security Manager Tony Husky. I asked Husky if he could provide Chris's CPR training from Anadarko. On Monday, August the 20th, I received an email from Husky with an attached spreadsheet showing Chris's CPR training. The spreadsheet is attached to this report and showed Chris was trained on CPR on March the 4th, 2015 and May the 16th, 2017. The course was titled First Aid CPR. Husky's email further stated that the CPR class Chris attended did touch on CPR for children, although the student did not perform exercises on child mannequins. I replied to Husky's email and requested instructor information so I could speak with them about the training. On Tuesday, August the 21st, I received an email from Husky who advised all requests for additional information were now routed to Jennifer Edwards, who was part of Anadarko's legal team. So Anadarko just put their legal team on this investigation. August the 21st. On Thursday, September the 6th, I sent an email to Edwards asking if she had contact information for the instructors and the curriculum from Chris's prior CPR training. Edwards called me a short time later and advised Anadarko contacts with CRP Environmental, LLC, out of Evans, Colorado. Edwards also advised the CPR training received by their employees would have a pediatric CPR component. Edwards advised their contact for the CPR training is Raymond Gibson. It's like they're really giving them the whole complete runaround about this CPR training, and they just want to know, could he save a child? Or, if he attempted it, is that a possibility? That's really all they want to know, I believe. And they're just really getting the runaround, trying to get this information. And then Anadarko comes on and just puts their legal team on them, which I find very odd. Just give the information. Or even better yet, if you're having such a hard time getting the information, I'm sure someone else took the class that worked at Anadarko. Just ask them. I don't know. After speaking with Edwards, I called Gibson and requested to speak with the instructors to obtain the curriculum from the trainings. Gibson advised he would need to send the request to his supervisor, who would get back with me, so now it's someone else. Gibson did inform me the training Anadarko receives is called Medic First Aid from the Health and Safety Institute. Gibson advised it is a 4-hour training class which covers both CPR and first aid. Gibson advised the class participants do receive a certification for completing the course. The receipt of the training logs and curriculum is still pending. Once they are received, they will be attached to any additional supplemental report, Agent Tammy Lee. And then it shows that there was an attachment, first aid CPR course, learning history spreadsheet. Wow, they went through all kinds of red tape and different people just to try to get what you would think would be a simple answer. And then even got the legal team put on them. I don't know, that's so weird. But just from reading what we did, you would assume that even though it said they touched on it, then, and it was as early as 2017, which was on his birthday, May the 16th, 2017. That was just a year prior. So you would think he would at least try to do the steps that he was touched on. I mean, you would guess, unless, I don't know. Interview with Lauren Arnold, friend of Shanann Watts, and I have that one as well. And we'll try to link it at the end of this one too. I'm not sure how many it's going to let me link, but if it will let me link all of these, I will. Seems like there's going to be a lot of interviews in this particular part. And this interview was done on August the 6th. Address 1, Chris and Shanann's home. Address 2, witness number 1, Nicole Atkinson. Subject 1, Nicole Atkinson. Subject 2, Lauren Arnold. Subject 3, Amanda Thayer. Supplement Investigative Report 9/6/2018. Continued. Nick Thayer. Subject 4. Subject 5, Suspect Chris Watts. Synopsis. On Thursday, September the 6th, ICBI Field Agent Greg Z. interviewed Lauren Arnold in connection to the Watts homicide case. Arnold was a lifelong friend of Shanann Watts. Action taken. On Thursday, September the 6th, I contacted Lauren Arnold and conducted an interview with her at CBI Denver office located in Lakewood, Colorado. The interview was recorded. The following is a summary of the interview, and for a complete account, please review the attached audio file. Arnold said she met Shanann when they were freshmen in high school in 1999 at Pinehurst, North Carolina. Arnold said she lost contact with Shanann for about a year because they reconnected on Facebook. Arnold said Shanann and Chris moved out to North Carolina in about 2013, and Arnold moved to Colorado about a year later. Arnold said the first time she met Chris was in 2014. She said her first impression of Chris was that he was very nice and kind of quiet. She said she continued and said Chris seemed attentive to Shanann, Bella, and Celeste. She said nothing about Chris's demeanor struck her as unusual. She said she had seen Shanann and Chris about once a month for the last 4 years. She said it was very common for her and her fiancé to go to Shanann's house for a dinner party or a football party or just to talk about Thrive. She said she is very familiar with Chris because of these get-togethers. She said she never heard Shanann talk about any fidelity issues she and Chris were having in their marriage. She said Shanann and Chris appeared to have an equal relationship and shared responsibilities. She said they appeared to communicate very well with each other and they were very affectionate with each other. She said they appeared to act as a team when caring for their kids. Arnold thought the life that Shanann portrayed on Facebook was very close to how she saw their lives in reality. She said she did see a change recently in the way Chris interacted with Shanann. She said within the last 6 months, Chris appeared to be standoffish towards Shanann. The last 6 months. And if you'll remember, Anthony Brown in his interview said he saw Nikki and Chris talking, standing very, very close together back in May, 5 months ago. She continued and said Chris was keeping to himself more than usual. She provided an example of one day when she was at Shanann's house. Chris came home from work and went straight upstairs and didn't even acknowledge her presence. She said Chris stayed upstairs while she was at the house and didn't come down to interact with anyone. Arnold also said she noticed Chris was not as affectionate towards Shanann during this time frame. She said she also noticed that the conversations she witnessed with Shanann on the phone to Chris were becoming shorter as time went on. She said these actions were very different from the way she had seen Chris act in the past. Arnold spoke about some issues she knew Shanann and Chris were having in their marriage. She said she knew that they had filed for bankruptcy a few years ago. She said she knew that Shanann and Chris occasionally argued about money. And see, nobody else has ever said that, but this girl has knew Shanann since they were kids, basically. And so maybe Shanann just felt way more comfortable talking to her, talking to her like, hey, it's my sister. You can talk to a lifelong best friend easier than you can your sister, because a lot of times we would just rather tell a buddy than family, things. And it is true. That does happen. She said she also knew that Chris's mother was very disrespectful towards Shanann and frequently questioned Shanann's ability to be a good mother. She said the last time she saw Shanann was about a week before she and the girls went to North Carolina. She thought that was about the last week of June of 2018. Arnold said Shanann called and talked to her about being pregnant, and Arnold said Shanann was excited about having another baby. Arnold also said Shanann told her that Chris also wanted to have another baby, and he wanted to have a baby boy. Arnold said the last time she spoke with Shanann was on Saturday, August the 11th. She said their phone conversation was short because Shanann was in Arizona for a Thrive conference. She said they spoke about having a gender reveal party for Shanann's baby. Arnold said they had plans to get together later in the week and go over these plans. Arnold said she tried to Facebook message Shanann on Sunday, August the 12th, but Shanann did not respond. Arnold said she tried to contact Shanann on Monday, August the 13th, between 11:30 and 12 p.m. to ask her about the doctor's appointment, and she said Shanann did not respond, which she thought was unusual because Shanann always had her phone with her. She said at about 1:30 p.m. she saw a posting on Facebook from Shanann's brother Frankie that Shanann, Bella, and Celeste were missing. Arnold said she eventually drove over to Shanann's house at about 5 p.m. to see if she could find out more information about the situation. Arnold said she did not text Chris because she didn't have his phone number. She said she called several friends she had in common with Shanann, and none of them had heard from her. She said she did talk to Nicole Atkinson and learned she had been at Shanann's house earlier in the day and had called the police. Arnold said she went to the house and knocked on the front door, and Chris answered it. She said Chris gave her a hug and invited her inside. She said she saw Amanda and Nick there inside the house as well. She said she asked Chris if he was okay, and Chris replied no. She said she walked into the house, looking around to see if she could see anything that might indicate where Shanann and the girls may have gone. She said she first noticed that Shanann's flip-flops were by the front door, and Arnold said Shanann always wore those shoes, and she was somewhat surprised they were in the house if Shanann had left. She said she also saw a carry-on suitcase and a handbag, which appeared to still be packed. She said she also saw some of the kids' toys next to one of the chairs in the living room area, and Arnold said she thought the toys by the chair was a little strange because Shanann always kept her house very clean, and the toys appeared to be out of place. Arnold then commented that she glanced up the stairs towards where the bedrooms were located. She said Chris noticed her glance up the stairs, and he spontaneously commented to her, quote, "I had to close the doors, the upstairs. I had to close all of the doors because I can't handle going up there and seeing everything, like the toys and stuff," unquote. Arnold said she found this comment to be very strange because there were several toys scattered around the house on the main level, and these toys didn't seem to be bothering Chris. She said she asked Chris if he had gone out to look for Shanann and the girls. She said Nick Thayer answered this question by saying the police told them that going out and looking for Shanann and the girls was not going to do any good. Arnold said she then asked Chris again if he had gone to look for Shanann, and he repeated what Nick Thayer said about the police telling him not to go looking. Arnold said she thought that was very strange. Arnold said as she was talking to Chris, she noticed he was wearing a tank top, and she was checking his arms and hands for any signs of injuries. She said she did not see any injuries on Chris. She said she noticed when she was asking Chris questions about Shanann, Chris would avoid eye contact with her, and he would look at the floor when he would answer. She said she thought this behavior was strange and commented that Chris didn't seem concerned about Shanann or the kids. Arnold explained further and said Chris appeared to be somewhat confused, and he didn't appear present in the moment. Arnold said as she continued to talk to Chris, he mentioned he was going to try to go back to work on Tuesday. She said she thought it was weird for Chris to want to go to work when his wife and kids were still missing. She said Chris explained that he did not want to be in the house and he didn't know where else to go. She said she left the house at about 5:30 p.m., and this was the last time she spoke to Chris. She said she drove around the neighborhood for a few minutes to see if she could find any sign of Shanann and the girls. She said she did not see anything useful, so she went home and started calling friends and asking if anyone had seen Shanann. Arnold said none of their friends had heard from her. Arnold said she saw the interview Chris gave on the television Tuesday night, and she described Chris as quote-unquote cocky, and his interview appeared to be rehearsed and odd. I've always said that. I've always said that everything he, actually as well as Nichol, said just sounded so rehearsed, like they had talked about it and rehearsed questions and answers. I've always said that. And then it says attachment, audio file of the interview with Lauren Arnold, and I will link it at the end of this video. And we're going to stop there, and when we go into part 23, we will be going into the supplemental report that was done on September the 7th, and it will be a social media post from Aubrey Shepard. And if you learned anything new in this video, I would really appreciate a thumbs up. Thank you all so much for your support to the channel, and until next time, this is UnJustified.